Here are a few points I want to discuss with my audience. This is concerning the age of the earth. I do not wish to confuse people, so if they have some questions, do not hesitate to ask. I will try my best to explain them. But the points are as follows. The establishment has the accretion process taking the majority of the time of, or I should say, does the accretion process itself take the majority of the time of the formation of the earth? I think it does, strictly because you just can't form an iron core twice the diameter of Texas in the amount of time that they propose, and then have the crust as 4.5 billion years old. So what they do is the core of the earth forms really, really fast, 100 million years old. And then the crust took 4.5 billion years to cool. I think that's backwards, if anything. If the crust is 4.5 billion years, that means it probably took the accretion process itself many, many, many more years. I believe the accretion process itself probably took in excess of 10 billion years. If anything, 70 billion years, or even older. I had made a previous presentation concerning how fast the core could deposit the material, depending on the rate of deposition of the iron and nickel, and how much material was there, and a whole lot of other things need to be added to that. But in essence, I think the accretion process itself takes the majority amount of time. Establishment has it as being a quick process. That's that. Number two, the oldest material radiometrically dated is found on the surface, not its interior. This is a big problem, because what if the material in the core is radiometrically older than the surface material? How are we going to figure that out? Nobody really knows. I sure don't know. Meaning the radiometric dating samples have never gone into the Earth's interior. They always remain on the surface. Number three, naturalists and establishment, they only look at Earth going through liquid and solid changes. I read in this article that Thomson in 1862 considered the Earth forming as a big molten ball. Molten. And then he calculated how fast it would cool based off it being molten. That's essentially the idea that all establishment people take, is the Earth was a big lava ball which then cooled. So they only look at the liquid and solid changes, not the gaseous and plasmatic changes it could have gone through. Regardless, if the vast majority of observed large structures in the galaxy are gaseous and plasma. Meaning a naturalist made the very big mistake of assuming that Earth, a solid structure, can just have formed through a liquid phase alone in the vacuum of outer space, completely neglecting the billions of plasmatic and gaseous objects which are observed. They were even observed back in 1862. Anybody who had a telescope in 1862 could observe a plasmatic star and a gaseous star, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. Another assumption establishment has is that the Earth is the same age as the core material from other stars. Meaning the initial abundances could be vastly miscalculated and show heavy bias. What that means is if you have a meteorite crashing into Earth, that's the core of an ancient star. So to radiometrically date that, and then force the ratios to match what you already believe, well, there you go. You can make those meteorites any age you want them to, because heavy bias can be taken into account. That's why radiometric dating samples are very dangerous, because they can be incredibly miscalculated. And then through peer review and groupthink, they can destroy the concept of age altogether to suit agendas. Now, I know it sounds like a conspiracy, but truth be told, academics all like to think the same things. They don't like to feel outside of the group. But anyways, that being said, there is an enormous over-reliance on radioactive decay and not physical processes, such as core deposition, plasma recombination, and early star evolution. Meaning, how long would it take for a plasmatic star to take all of its ionized material and recombine it into gas, releasing all that heat, becoming a gas giant? And how long would it take for a core to form via electroplating and or vacuum vapor deposition? This process basically means that you're forming a crystal, a giant iron-nickel crystal in the center of the star. That way other material can deposit on top of it and form the outer layers. That being said, that completely overrides the concept of the star having always been solid and liquid structure. Here's another point. They have an over-reliance on false assumptions. The main assumption that they use to date the Earth is all rooted by chance, by coincidence, in the false nebula theory, which has been falsified by exoplanets doing strange things. Hot Jupiters, lava worlds, things that shouldn't be occurring in the exoplanet finds, which should have mirrored the solar system's structure and form. But basically, the false nebula theory is kept because they want all the solar system objects, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all the comets, all the moons, to be all the same age. That way, the models work and everybody's happy. So, they have an over-reliance on false assumptions. Very, very, very dangerous. And last but not least, the one major assumption which throws all of this off, number one, are all the objects in the solar system byproducts of the sun's birth, or are all objects in the solar system, which are smaller and larger, byproducts of star evolution itself? I should also say star destruction, because a lot of the objects are the result of collision events between stellar material, creating what are called asteroids and small moons and things like that. So basically, the major assumption concerning the age of the Earth is right here, which in turn has effects on all the other assumptions. So basically, when you knock down the nebular theory that the sun and the solar system objects were all byproducts of the sun's birth, when you knock that down, all of this comes crashing down with it. Meaning, they're going to defend this assumption. Because if they don't, all these other ideas come crashing down. So essentially, that's the root of the tree, and we have to pull up the root first before we start attacking all this. A lot of, shall I say, religious creationism people and religious websites that I've been reading, they point out a lot of this. You know, initial abundances and the evolutionists, naturalists versus creationists and all this other stuff. But basically, they were just hacking at the leaves. What they needed to do was attack this assumption right here. But they didn't see that assumption before. Now, I'm not saying that I believe in the creationist version of events. What I am saying, though, is that that was their main problem. Basically, that sums it up. I'll go ahead and do another little presentation overviewing some more problems concerning this.